Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Jessica here from Jessica Dawn Coaching, and it is Live Wednesdays. Today, we're talking about sparking joy. With all of the heavier topics that I cover, it's always important to remember that as you're going through shadow work and digging into your discomfort, that it is equally possible to cultivate joyful practices. So what do I mean by that? And I'm gonna answer that with a question. And that is, what do you do in your life, or do you actively look for things that bring joy to you? A little bit of Marie Kondo, when she is working with people and clearing their houses, the number one question is, does this item spark joy? And it's not like, doing my taxes does not spark joy. However, I can say that I have an appreciation for when I'm doing my taxes. If I do have an amount owing, it means that I have cultivated abundance for myself. And you know what? When I look back, I can feel a lot of joy for things that I've accomplished, right? But in that accomplishment piece, I just like to follow the threads on here sometimes. What are ways that you call in pleasure in your life, right? Because I associate joy with pleasure, and to me, joy is a state. It's a very freeing experience. There's a lightness in your soul when you're filled with joy, right? It's like for me, the way that I experience joy, it's like all of these effervescent bubbles of light are in my being and like rising to the top. And it makes me want to spread that effervescence everywhere. And I'm also bringing the subject in because it's the first week of spring, and I always feel a little bit lighter when that transition in the season happens. Along with another bit of quietness as well. Like there's like this equilibrium of like, oh, there's newness on its way, but also, there's still a dormancy there. But I take steps to go and find the joyful pieces that exist in my being, in my surroundings. Sometimes it's a real stretch for it. But there's a purpose for looking for those joyful pieces, because when you seek them, it takes you out of that tunnel vision of like, oh, this is so hard, everything's so hard. So you start to widen your spectrum of like, okay, you know what is this one little thing that brings me joy? So if you watch my stories on Instagram, I don't know if I share them always on Facebook. Mornings right now, it's still freezing overnight here in my part of the world. It's great for the maple season. We need freezing temperatures at night and then above zero during the day for the sap to flow. But one of the byproducts of this weather pattern is that the puddles freeze over. As everything melts, there's like this little thin layer of ice over the puddles. I love to crack the ice on those puddles. It really brings me joy. I feel childlike. I probably look a little bit silly, and I kind of love that I look silly when I do it because, but it lightens me up. It brings me joy. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a big production. You don't have to light a bunch of candles and burn some incense or anything like that. You can just find something that just lightens you up. This morning, I bought a little baby chick decorated cookie. So it's a cookie from my local coffee shop, and it's decorated just like a little chick. And it was so adorable. It like made me smile, and I got it for my youngest. Right? Little things, So I feel joyful looking at it, and I'm pretty sure my kid is going to feel joyful when they eat it, when they see it too. right? So joy multiplies, but you can also create it. I would love for you to share ways that you cultivate and call joy into your lives. You know, what are little things? What's one thing that you can do that's going to spark joy? Because the spark, it's like fire, it's going to spread. You know, we're meant to have this range of emotions, and we can have intention to call it in. It may not always be instant, but having that patience and also taking the time to look back at, you know, moments where you felt joy, right? Which, if you're in a really dark and heavy place, it can be hard to remember that those exist. It sort of feels, I know for myself and for a lot of my clients, when I'm not in a great place, it feels like I've been like that forever. And I'm like, oh, am I ever going to feel happy again? You are, and you have felt happy. So start to recall those, the neurology of it is it starts to spark those neural pathways so that they remember. It's like flexing a muscle and going back to the gym, you know. You're gonna be sore at first, but we have muscle memory. And so it's completely possible to just sort of start to tug that back again. And I fully acknowledge that this is very simplistic and there are other elements to it, but today, what's one thing you can do? Spring is here. What can spark joy for you just for today? Comment below. I will see you next week. Bye for now.